Hi, this is Stan. Welcome back to the Crow's Nest Railroad. Well, I hope you're well grounded because this episode could be electrifying. Well, as I mentioned last time, I really don't want to move forward with the build until I know that everything that I've planned is going to work. And so it's not too soon to start some of the wiring and see if I can get the brain and the motors and things to come alive on this locomotive, and that way I can finish up on the body and the shell and all the cosmetic things. But one of the problems I'm having now, although this is a very comfortable workspace here on my bench, it's at the point where I can no longer lift the locomotive and the batteries and the bogies, everything all assembled. So what I'm going to do is move the loco down onto the floor, and I'm going to put the bogies up on the workbench, and I think I'll start wiring up the motors, installing them, and getting them all wired up, and that'll be step one. Alright, there it is on the floor. It'll be much easier for me to manage now. Not as easy to work on it, but I simply can't lift it anymore. So, okay, here's the lineup. You can see all 8 motors. I can't believe I'm getting ready to wire these up. It's pretty exciting. I bought these motors. This is March. I bought these motors last July. That's how long they've been sitting here on the shelf. So each motor gets mounted with a spacer backing it off the wheel and 3 of these little bolts here. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a jumper wire, because once I install the motor, that back negative terminal is going to be impossible to get to because it'll be behind the wheel. So let me get going on this. So here I'm soldering on the little pigtail to the negative terminal that'll be hidden once I install the motor. Alright, we're all wired up according to the diagrams. 2 motors in series in parallel with 2 other motors in series, and same thing for the other bogie. I've got the wires. I found a rubber washer and I kind of form fitted it so that I could run these wires together and allow just a little bit of movement. So let me go put this on the locomotive. And there's a look at the bottom end. You can see the wires going up through. I'm going to use some plastic protective wrap when these get mounted permanently. They'll be very, very slow changes to the bogies like this. There's not a lot of movement. And now we get the red wires and the black wires hooked up to these terminal blocks. Right, got my little budget power supply that I keep on my hobby desk. And I think I've got all the wiring hooked up correctly, but I'd like just a little peace of mind before I go any further. So let's fire it up. This is forward, according to how I have it wired right now. It's about 5 volts. Nothing's lubricated yet. And this is the first time those gears have turned, so it's a little noisy. I'm not pulling excessive current, or I think the power supply would kick out. Watch out, make sure these wires don't get into the springs. Okay, well that satisfies my soul for right now. You know, mostly I show my workbench as being cleaned, but that's in between projects. Right in the middle of something, this is exactly what my workbench looks like. And I don't really stop to clean it up until that singularity moment where I can't find the tool I need. Well, I spent the whole day wiring yesterday, and I'm not gonna lie, my fingers are sore from stripping and crimping and all this stuff with the wires. But I thought I would show you, this is 8-gauge wire, and these are the crimp-on connectors. Thought I would show how I did it. May not be the right way or how you do it, but so I slip it on. And I got one of these more heavy-duty crimping pliers at the auto parts store, and start out by really mashing it in there. There we go. Okay, the first mash. Then I got this old piece of rail here. Put it on the edge. Give it a couple of whacks. Finish it off with a little chisel action here. And there we go. All right. Here's a look under the hood for a second. Two of the Walmart marine batteries. They're slightly different size than the Duracells, but basically they fit in there. These are the two terminal blocks. There's a protective cap that goes on these. I'm afraid if I use the caps, they'll just end up down on the bottom, but we'll see. Basically, I have to tidy up all of this wiring once the batteries come back out. But this is the heavy 8-gauge wire here. And so let's see, there's our 50, 60 amp breaker, our master switch, voltmeter, here's the Siren 50, and the battery plus battery negative motor wires are here. These are all the high current wires, and these are the signaling wires here for speed and control. And that cable runs up here to the stalk where we have the potentiometer for speed control and direction. Not right now, later on I'll have to configure some sort of a headlamp for it and a charging port. Not going to do that now because the batteries will probably for a while live outside the locomotive, and I'll just put the 24-volt charger on it. And this is the master switch. For the pot and the toggle, you can refer back to this diagram here. I've got a 4-conductor cable that runs from here up through that stalk, and you can see 5 volts red wire, S1 green wire, 0 volts black wire, and S2 is the yellow wire. And you might think you would need 5 wires for this, but really I cheated and I got the 0 volts off of the potentiometer for the toggle switch. So just the 4 wires go into the controlling end of the Siren 50. Well, what do you think? Should we see if there's any smoke? Any explosions? Tell you one thing I don't like about this master key is that even when the key is this is the insertion and then off. This is supposed to be off. If you push in on that key against the spring, it ignites the circuit. I really don't like that. I really wanted more of an automotive key situation, but I couldn't find those that were rated for super high current. So I went with this, not my favorite situation. But here we go. And we're on. 24 volts on the voltmeter. And add a little power here. What do you think, buddy? Something going on under there? He's a little curious about it. I can feel the wheels going in the right direction. Reverse. No explosions, no smoke. Hoo-hoo-hoo, yeah. Now we have to see if the thing actually works, though. We know it runs, and it didn't immediately blow up or catch fire, but it's got to do more than that. Okay, that's a little better. All right. There it is, sitting on the rails. So I'm going to move it back and forth a little bit, see how it does through the switch, and maybe back down on the hill, see if it starts on the hill. Little Rodney had a difficult time starting on the uphill with the wheel slip, so we'll see how this guy does. You can see we are full on blossoms and starting the seed pods, which means my wife and I and the dog and everything gets covered in these yellow flower petals. So it's a beautiful time. It's March and it's spring. Well, on with our test. So one of the goals is for me be able to sit in the center of this car, not hugging the front and loading up that front truck, and still reach the controls. So let's see. Right away, I can feel that torque. It should be about twice the torque of Rodney, and when I put that throttle in there, I can just feel that grunt right away when I open the throttle a little bit. It's going to rain flower petals here for a while. There's little Rodney, and you can see the hood or the bonnet on this is just about the same height as the top of Rodney. And we stopped to pick up the work car. All right, let's do a startup from still on the hill here. No passengers, but just the empty train and all the cars. Pretty good. Try it again here. That's pretty good. Got some giddy up here. Okay, well, I don't want to do a full-on train video because this is going to be long enough. Just a couple of observations. Just in about the bottom third of the throttle, that's all I've done for our typical movements. Started great on the hill. The size is big. So far we've got all the check marks and I can reach the controls very easily. The regen braking that the Siren 50 has takes a little bit of getting used to compared to Rodney. Rodney rolls pretty free if you roll the throttle down until you hit the brake. This controller has regen braking, so let me show you here. You may not be able to tell, but so I speed up. Hear that? Just like your Tesla. As soon as I drop that throttle below quarter throttle, boom, it's going into regen. So I went down the hill with this full load and didn't need the handbrake or any kind of braking. But that does make your starts and stops. You can't just wide open that throttle. You got to be a lot more gentle with it, starting at lower voltage. Hear that clunk? That's going into the regen as you're braking it down. Well, this is Stan saying thanks. I know this episode may be a little bit long, but there was a lot in here, action-packed. And how exciting to see something that you dream up in your head a year ago actually get out on the rails and move around and not burst into flames or blow up just yet. I suppose there's always that possibility. Okay, well, it's back to the workshop and the process continues. Thanks so much for watching. See you right here next time on the Crow's Nest Railroad.